I'm very honored to introduce Beatrice Cook, who is with us for an interview. Thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy.
Yes, yes. How do you think I feel, motherfucker?
Happy.
Yeah, it's happy. You're right.
I'm
Okay,
anyway.
let's get crack-a-lackin'. Here's my question. I think Sissy's game is like some of the most brilliant storytelling I've ever seen in my life. And okay, I think what's really interesting about the way that you tell stories is there's kind of like this conventional story with Sissy happening where Sissy's looking for this organ, and then there's also like just the emotional beat story of like the visual elements that are like coinciding with it. And then there's also like this underlying kind of like cryptic alien like mom story also happening beyond everything. But it all like harmonizes so perfectly to create just this homogenous emotional tale. And it's like I can watch it over and over and over again. And I really wanted to pick your brain about like how you view like storytelling as especially relating to just like non-conventional storytelling.
Hey, that's a big question. Um, I think I would say that the loosey goosey aspects of it, like I would say that the writing style, just like the dialogue style that I go with, is like 85% like derived from Homestar Runner and Strong Bad Emails.
That
And,
fucks.
Oh
That
wow,
fucks so hard.
that's so good.
and like if I find
Somebody,
myself like if I get like too stiff while writing a script, I like consciously in my head I'm thinking, how would the brothers chaps say this?
That
And
makes
so
so much sense now that you
it
mention
does.
that.
I have like a
somebody,
Homestar filter that I run everything through if it's not funny enough.
Yeah,
Um,
right. And
and so
oh,
hmm?
go ahead.
Oh, okay. And then so that sort of style automatically sort of lends itself to getting really loosey goosey with language and meaning and stuff. Um, and narrative and whatnot. Uh, and so I think where I'm trying to sort of create a sort of space that maybe doesn't feel like 100% like immediately accessible to the audience, no matter like who they are, you know.
Uh-huh.
Um, and like I think it's really cool to find a piece of art that is obviously not made with you in mind, but you're able to connect
Yes.
with it and meaning in anyways, you know.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And like it belongs to an indecipherable sort of subculture that you've never heard of, and it uses lingo that it seems like you're supposed to be familiar with and you're not.
Hmm.
And pseudoscience stuff in Sissy's game, like the alien whatnot
Right.
adventure, is
The
supposed to
pink
sort of
thing.
feel like that, like so it's the movies like rooted or inspired in some kind of supernatural cultish online community, but isn't actually, it's just made up for fun.
Right. Like it's just this it just sets a like this zone, this very cryptic and like complicated zone that the story exists in, and
Yeah.
you can just like play
Okay.
around with
So
it as much as you want.
yeah, I like the idea of movies as a window. I think that is one of my favorite feelings.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
like watching a movie that feels like a window into somewhere that you're not necessarily supposed to be looking.
Right.
Wow.
And I think what's so well done in that aspect for Sissy's game is like there's so many little gaps in the story, but it's
Mhm.
like it's gaps that like the film is encouraging you to fill in with like your own emotional experiences.
Yeah. And it's like I talk a lot about it of watching a movie when you're really little and you're like, this movie probably makes sense to the grown-ups. Uh,
Oh.
Yeah. Oh my god, that's
and
such an interesting way to say it.
and like I think that feeling of watching a movie when you're really little and knowing that there's something, and not knowing, just accepting that there's something that you're supposed to know, but you don't necessarily fully get it, but you're just sort of watching the shapes and stuff happen on screen and you're like, this must be such a smart movie. I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah. That's so
I
brilliant. Yeah.
when I'm grown up, I'm definitely gonna get it.
Right. Like
When
there's a
you're grown up and now you're making
mystification.
Yeah, and so I want stuff that sort of feels that way to grown-ups, you know?
Yeah. No, I think you totally capture that. Cause then like you watch it over and over and over again and it just starts to mean more and more and more and more. Cause you just start thinking about all these different little things and like the fucking scene when it's the shot of the barn and there's the horse. That fucking
Exactly.
oh my god, that's like the best thing I've ever
That's
seen
one
in my life.
The script has been written and rewritten so many times. Like I've been working on it. Before I started animating, I'd written the script over and over for so many years that like it really helped to the feeling that I was going for because so many scenes I kept in, even though by that point they didn't mean anything in the current version of the story.
Mm-hmm.
That like scene with the horse and the goblin and the barn,
Right.
that I swear to God that meant that like had like real like obvious narrative significance in the first draft. But it doesn't have as obvious meaning anymore, but I still liked it so much that I was like, I'm gonna put it in. I'm just
No,
gonna keep it.
That's great.
The
absolutely.
green goopy horse.
And it fucking yeah, the 5G horse.
5Joy horse.
Goopy horse.
And it's
I
go ahead.
a Tumblr blog of images that inspire like make me feel like they belong in a story, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And the 5G horse was a post in my Sissy's Game Inspiration
Oh
blog.
my god.
How am I gonna put that in? Where's that's where it's gonna go.
God, that's so awesome. Cause like I feel like you said, like there's no like narrative transparency with that shot. But it like the emotional the emotional feeling of it is just like through the roof. Like the shot of like the birds and then it goes into the barn thing is just like there's all these little tiny things that just like build to the emotional whole like brilliantly.
Thank you. I'm happy that you feel that way.
And okay, let's see. Jack, did you want to ask about
Yeah. I wanted to ask about, so you use Toon Boom, like an old version of Toon Boom, animate Sissy's game, and I was wondering how that influenced your creative decisions, all of it, like how you made Sissy's game, how you made it.
Toon Boom Studio 6 it is very old and it's very simple and it's very sort of it's just like the only the most necessary aspects for animation are in it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I sort of chose it because the product that it puts out is I feel is very much like old Flash animations, you know?
mhm.
Yeah.
And because it works with like what do you call vectors and whatnot, so
Right.
that
Oh, really?
the smoothness of it lends itself to that style really good. And so like I was saying before, Homestar Runner is big in just absolute top 3 biggest inspirations of anything I ever do. And that's a big reason that I love Toon Boom Studio 6 is it's really easy to make really simple, clean images like that.
Right. And it keeps your scope limited enough that you can really express these huge ideas in a really poignant way. I feel
Yeah,
like.
because if there's too many things, like I don't remember who was talking about it, but they were talking about Premiere and just putting in all the effects. That's exactly how after I animate everything, I bring it into Premiere, and then I just bam, 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 effects.
Oh god.
But if I get bogged down with that before I've actually done the story, then I get distracted and nothing comes of it.
Very good point.
Yeah,
Well,
so
yeah.
keeping it simple and straightforward while I'm doing the actual characters acting is one thing, and then afterwards I let myself go a little crazy.
And having like the
Swag.
limitations totally lets you like, it forces you to come up with new creative ways to achieve a certain look.
Yeah, absolutely. I like using old programs for that reason.
That's awesome.
Valid. Very valid.
All right. Well, I hate to say it. I hate to cut you off, but we are running out of time.
It's all good.
So, oh my God, thank you so much for the interview. Thank you so much for sharing Sissy's game with all these wonderful people in the chat.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy that you asked me to be in the festival.
Yes, yes.
Oh my God.
Okay, I'm fine. All right. Thank you so
Bye.
much. Take
Thank
care.
you so much.
Mwah, mwah.
Bye,
Bye.
B.
Bye.
All right.
Beatrice.
That was Beatrice Cook of Sissy's game. And we got to move on because I'm a little over.